Flipping the Script on Artificial Intelligence. Participating in our conversation this evening is our very own President, the Honorable Judge Jacqueline A. McClinton, Linda Beck, Social Action Committee member and co-moderator on tonight's conversation, Jennifer Daniels White, IT Program Manager, also a member of Pontiac Alumni Chapter, and Rodney Sloan, Software and Technology Professional. Madam President, please greet our audience and introduce our special guest this evening.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming today. My name is Jacqueline McClinton. I am the president of the proud and prestigious Pontiac Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. On behalf of the Pontiac Alumni Chapter, we welcome you to our May Week event, Flipping the Script on Artificial Intelligence. We are honored to have you here with us tonight as we explore one of the most transformative topics of our times, artificial intelligence, and how it is reshaping the world around us. This evening, we are proud to present two accomplished professionals who are making waves in technology, innovation, and AI. These thought leaders bring a wealth of experience, insight, and perspective, and they will help us better understand not just the tools and the trends, but the opportunities and challenges that come with them. As Delta women, we are committed to promoting education, empowering communities, and creating a space for informed dialogue. And today's conversation reflects all of that and more. So get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and equipped to think about the evolving roles of AI in our lives. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and let us get ready to flip the script on artificial intelligence. I also have the distinct pleasure of introducing our two professionals. Rodney Sloan is a seasoned software and technology professional with an impressive 45-year career in computer software and systems architecture. I'm so sorry. As a proud alumnus of Cass Technical High School and Wayne State University, where he studied community science, Rodney has continually stood at the forefront of technological innovation. Over the past 8 years, he has focused deeply on artificial intelligence with a specialization in machine learning and generative AI, bringing cutting edge solutions to real world challenges. Rodney's extensive experience has been honed at some of the most influential technology companies, including CompuWare, Microsoft, Johnson Controls, and currently Google Cloud, where he continues to drive innovation in cloud-based AI systems. Rodney's professional journey reflects a rare blend of technical mastery, visionary thinking, and a lifelong commitment to advancing the field of technology. We also are honored to have with us Jennifer Daniels White, who is a dynamic IT program manager and respected people leader. She's known for her ability to drive complex technology initiatives while fostering high performing teams. With a strong foundation in business and leadership, she holds a bachelor's degree in marketing and an MBA with a concentration in organizational management. Jennifer brings a wealth of experience and to project delivery, backed by an impressive array of certifications. These certifications include Project Management Professional and Scrum Master. Her career reflects a commitment to excellence, continuous improvement, and in empowering individuals and organizations to achieve their strategic goals. With a reputation for blending strategic vision with operational execution, Jennifer consistently delivers value in fast paced, result driven environments. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Barbie, our dedicated social action chair. Dr. Barbie.
Thank you so much, Sir President, and thank you again to our presenters this evening. I will now turn this part of the conversation over to my co-moderator this evening, Linda Bex.
Good evening. Good evening. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Barbie and Madam President. Jennifer and Rodney, welcome, welcome, welcome. Our own Jennifer. And I just want to point out that Rodney is also a member of the Divine Nine Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So let's get started. We're so excited to have both of you as guests this evening. Many of us have heard about this hot new topic, artificial intelligence, also known as AI. But Jennifer, we're gonna address you first, and tell me what you think, or not what you think, but what is this artificial intelligence, and what does it mean to us? Even to the point where I know we're probably using this AI even when we don't know it. So, take it away.
Certainly. So we'll start with artificial intelligence has been around since around the 1950s, actually. So in layman's terms, it uses computers or machine learning to simulate human comprehension. And we use it, for example, when you Google questions, that response is AI generated. When you call customer service for various businesses and you go through those prompts, that's artificial intelligence. And the algorithms that determine the ads and the articles you see when you're online and you're on social media, that is driven by artificial intelligence, even to the point of sending you misinformation. So the reason it's such a hot topic right now is because we've reached a new echelon coined generative AI. So, generative AI allows you to input text, images, and various other forms of intelligence, and it generates new content using prompts, what's called a prompt. So, an example may be something as simple as, hey, rewrite this email so it doesn't sound aggressive and get me fired.
Mhm.
Or you may put in a bunch of data and say, can you summarize this data into a table by years and area? Or it can be even more advanced, and you can say something like, as a cost conscious CFO, create a program for the unhoused with the goal of creating affordable housing and training to transition those formerly unhoused into stable housing.
Okay, that's good stuff. Okay, next question. Any questions? Okay, let's go. Rodney, you're up. Artificial intelligence in Michigan and many other states, it's evolving every day, particularly in our schools, in our public service, our local businesses, politics. And we all know it's in politics, okay? Rodney, can you share with us some of the entities uh, that are using IA and certainly moving forward with more advanced technology? Rodney, are
Oh,
you on mute?
you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks for inviting me to address the group today. I do have to start by saying the opinions I'm going to share are mine and do not reflect Google in any way. But yes, as you indicated, AI is becoming increasingly important in schools and in public entities and local businesses in Michigan. Um, and there are concerns about ethical guidelines and regulations, but the potential benefits are far outweighing those. And so what we're seeing is a lot of adoption by these small businesses, schools, public service, because they're getting improvements in innovation, efficiency, in areas like that. So let's talk about a few ways that it's being used. Let's start with schools. In schools, you're seeing a lot of personalized learning. You're seeing things like recommending specific learning materials or tutoring. I wish I had it back in college when I was taking calculus, because I could put in a specific problem and now it will tell me not only the answer, how it got to the answer, right? So you'll see a lot of schools, elementary, high school, college, using it for tutoring. Research is huge, right? Not just in schools, but also in the commercial sector, but being able to do research on specific topics and creating reports and full research reports, and giving you all the websites that it pulled the information from, all the attributions. It's really becoming a game changer. Automating grading and feedback, right? You can point it at paragraphs and give the pupil feedback directly on their grammar, on the accuracy of what they're using. So it's becoming a real time saver and help with teachers, as well as administrative tasks, scheduling, and communication with parents. In public service, it's huge. Jennifer mentioned chatbots. When you call Secretary of State or any other Michigan agency, you're often seeing chatbots that you're engaging with. And this is a big area of advancement that I'm working with every day, because this is getting a lot more advanced. These chatbots will now be using video and using pictures and a number of different, multimodal kind of things. You will see them become much smarter. Police, Detroit Police is using data analytics and generative AI to figure out, where they should put shot detection cameras and where their patrols should be. One great thing is like Michigan Economic Development Corp is using it to actually match jobs and with resumes that are coming in, right? It's giving them the ability to do a lot more with the same people that they have in place. It's making them more efficient in their job. From a small business perspective, it's pretty huge. Last year, there was a study of Michigan small businesses, and it was estimated that over 26% were already using AI. I am sure that number is much greater now. And I think the things that you're seeing is like automation of routine tasks, personalized emails and communication with customers. Marketing is becoming huge. Things that only enterprise companies used to be able to do, small businesses are able to do now. Generate images, generate campaigns, marketing campaigns, get a better understanding of their customer base. All very important areas for small business. And I'm dealing with a number of startups as well. It is a game changer for startups because they are much more nimble. They can provide much more value add and compete with larger companies. And we're seeing that for sure in Michigan. Jennifer did mention machine learning. There are different kinds of AI. In Michigan in particular, you're seeing a lot of small manufacturing companies. They're using that machine learning bias, whereas you're seeing with other schools and other general businesses, they're using what she was describing as generative AI. And it's the generative AI that I think the majority of people are concerned about, because that's where the bias and the ethical use really comes into play. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a insight in how, different entities are using it within Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Ronnie, while we have you here, do you see this being more challenging particularly when it comes to the schools with different assignments, things like that, where, we certainly want the kids to be able to write their own thing, but if AI is out there, do you see that being challenging for the teachers?
Do you see it really? Think back when calculators were first invented, right? And they wouldn't let us bring calculators to class for any of our math tests. Eventually, they realized, well, you know what? Calculators isn't a bad thing for the math test as long as you understand how you got to the answer, right? And so they started changing the test to accommodate that. It's not going to be any different with AI. Right. And so the tests, you'll probably end up being able to use AI for different assignments, different tests. but those will be done in such a way that you have to prove that you understand either the topic or the objective that you're getting to. What it will do is it will better prepare our students for life as it's going to be in 5 or 10 years.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I will turn it back over to Dr. Barbie.
Thank you so much. And thank you for covering the education aspect of it as well. I do want to pivot just a little bit so that we cover our social action component of the evening and talk a little bit more about the legislation specifically regarding AI. So we know that in Michigan, our government has been taking real steps to address the impact of AI, especially on our community. So the state now requires political ads that use AI to clearly say so. And this helps keep our elections transparent. And there are some more major concerns about AI bias, especially in areas like housing, hiring, and policing. The Michigan Civil Rights Commission has adopted principles to make sure AI doesn't discriminate and respects everyone's rights. We are going to make sure that in the interest of time, we share these educational resources, especially in our chat box. So please feel free to check there as well. But so that we can pivot really quickly, I do want us to dive into how we as individual constituents can be involved in the development and oversight of the AI systems that affect our communities. So I will turn it over to either Jennifer or Rodney, whoever wants to take that, if we can speak on that part of it.
I think we can tag team this one. And from an ethical standpoint, I like to compare AI to fire. So, fire has become very useful in our day-to-day life. So, we use it to like cook food, we use it to heat our homes, for example. And as long as we control the parameters and the use of that fire, we're safe. Now, the moment we remove those parameters and we get a little careless, a fire can become very deadly. And the same thing can happen with artificial intelligence. We want to make sure that it continues to be useful. We continue to be ethical in its application. And, it's only as good as the information that we feed it. So if we feed it bias, it's going to return bias to us. So again, we want to make sure that we're having proper parameters around how we're executing and using artificial intelligence. So as far as constituents and the everyday citizen, I would say first of all, educate yourself. And this doesn't require that you go get a formal college degree or anything of that sort, but just understand the basics of AI and how it works. Follow your local, your regional, and your national representatives to understand what bills are out there and what they're doing for you. So, for example, there's a bill recently introduced in Michigan that's going to prohibit discrimination in housing based on your source of income. A lot of these you can actually find on the websites of your representatives. And, also hold your elected officials accountable. They need to be educated and they need to do their job to protect their constituents. Rodney, you want to add on to that?
I think you covered that really, really well. I do want to, though, reemphasize one thing you said up front, and that is learning, that it's only as good as what it learned. All AI is based on learning. That's a big difference in the way programs used to be written. And so AI, if you only feed it far right-wing information, it will always give you a far right-wing bias. Same thing with left-wing. And so it is the responsibility of the companies that are putting out these models to be able to train them and let them learn with a diverse set of information, because it's going to make decisions based on it. But even if there are basic models that the Googles and the Microsofts and the open AIs put out there, individual companies can take those and do additional learning, what we call fine tuning on it, and bias can be introduced during that period. So now each company has to be held accountable. Commercial companies that are using AI, as well as those that are creating these models. So it is important, as Jennifer indicated, to educate yourself, really understand the basics, the capabilities, the limitations of what AI is. And there will be, there's several opportunities for you to do that, right? Whether you go on the internet and you find, YouTube videos, or you use AI itself to help educate you on the capabilities. I think you need to take it upon yourself to do that, then talk to your representatives and make sure that you understand, what the universities are doing, what the what the forums are that are in your community, because the government has to do these forums as they're trying to implement different policies, right? So make sure that you're attending those and sharing your voice.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know you guys mentioned a few recommendations on what our community members can do. Do you have any specific resources that we can take a part with in Michigan and that we can share out to our viewers this evening?
Well,
Jennifer?
one of the things I mentioned, for example, I know LinkedIn has a lot of free courses. Rodney also mentioned YouTube videos. And I always say the easiest way that I personally learn something is to actually get in there and play with it myself. So you can download free versions of ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, or Google Gemini, for example, and just continue to play, continue to educate yourself, continue to advance your skill set in it.
It really is amazing, and there's no better advice I think that we can give, because if you use any one of those three products that Jennifer talked about, you'll be able to go in and just ask it natural language questions. And you could say, what is AI? What is Gen AI? What are the current events that are occurring in my geography that I can go to? You can follow up questions. So the whole prompt that Jennifer was talking about up front, it's a whole technique of how you talk to AI. Every one of you has the ability to get out there and just start using natural language questions for whatever it is you want. And you could do follow-up questions because it remembers the answers it gave you, and you could just keep diving deeper. You can ask informational things. You can ask it to generate things. So the best way to learn about AI, what's going on in your community, how you can affect it through local government, state government, is through using Gen AI itself, right? You'll be surprised, I think, if you haven't used it, how great it will be.
Thank you so much for that too. And again, we will be sharing the resources in our chat. But really quickly, I do want to go. I see a question in our chat, and it has to do with the algorithm. And so I know, especially for those of us who use social media, we hear this word algorithm a lot. Can you speak to how specifically we can tailor our own algorithms on our phone when using ChatGPT or any of these other AI resources?
Well,
Or
Tailoring,
is it a such thing as tailoring our own algorithms? How does that work?
uh, all AI has certain base components, right? Like learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, being able to pull in different inputs, language, right? Being able to talk and understand language and decision making. The game changer has been now creativity and the ability to generate things. There are general models that you use. We just talked about ChatGPT and Gemini and Copilot. You're not going to modify those, but there are, you can take those models if you're a company, and you could do what's called fine tuning. But that is not something that the general public is going to be doing. That's typically something that a company will do, and you could fine tune it to specific to your product or your service so that the AI knows better about your specific information, and it can combine that with the broad. You're not going to get that though with, just going out and starting asking questions, if that makes sense, hopefully.
It does. Thank you so much for that. Another question in our chat box, it says some are worried about AI replacing workers. So how can we imagine futures where AI supports rather than displaces humans?
Jennifer, you want to try that?
Sure, I have a take on that one. First
Okay.
of all, AI is actually replacing resources, pretty much like, we're no longer driving around in a horse and buggy. It was replaced by the automobile. But at the same time, there's also an opportunity with AI as it's generating additional functions, additional jobs. So, according to Ernst& Young, AI is slated to create 133 million new jobs by 2030. So it's not so much of something to look at as a replacement, but more something to look at as an evolution in technology.
Yeah, I would concur that, it will eliminate some jobs, particularly jobs that are repetitive in nature, for sure. But it will also help the existing jobs be more efficient. It's going to augment and give you a much greater capability to be more effective in your current job. And like any new technology, uh, evolution, it will generate new jobs, right? Jobs we don't even know about yet, right? That's going to occur based on this technology. So yes, there will be changes, which is why it's really important now to kind of understand AI, understand what it's about, so that your children, you can guide them to learn it and to start looking at fields that may be affected positively as well as fields that might be affected negatively when it comes to it.
I like that. And I definitely think it's good for us to look at it as, Jennifer, you mentioned it as an evolution instead of something that's just super scary, because I will admit, when you hear about all these new AI changes and things that are becoming popular, it can be pretty scary, especially to those who don't have that tech background. So thank you for sharing that. We do have another question, and it says, who do you think currently holds power in shaping the future of AI, and who is being left out of that conversation? And I'm going to add something else to it too. And how can we make ourselves a part of that conversation as well?
That's a pretty loaded question, but makes you think, doesn't it? So, first of all, the powers that be that are kind of leading this AI evolution are companies. They're at the forefront of leading this. So we'll start there. Also, on the political front, we have legislators who also are controlling the evolution and the speed at which we are adopting AI. So, and the biggest way to be a part of that, I can't stress it enough, is educate yourself. You have to know what AI is, what it's capable of doing.
Again, spot on with that assessment. And it is a complicated question. Yes, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Open AIs, the Metas are driving some of the core algorithms and models that are being used, no doubt. But then the companies that are purchasing that is modifying it for their own use. There's also models that are what we call open source. Those are the meta models. Anybody can take that model and do what they want with it. So when you see all of these, spoof videos and you hear, text that's being generated and videos you just know is not right, that's not coming from the Googles, the Microsofts, and the open, chat GPTs. That's coming from other companies that have taken these models and gone on and done things with it that, shouldn't be done. So the importance of us being able to have some kind of legislative governance, to me, is critically important. And I would say most experts in the field feel that way. And so it is really incumbent upon us to continue to pressure our local, our state, our federal representatives to make it happen. Europe has been far more advanced than we have been in the United States. They have come up with a national, more than guidelines, laws related to how AI is going to be treated over there. I would say they're kind of the gold standard. We have not adopted that here in the U.S., right? Our government at a national level is promoting AI, but we have challenged the national level any kind of agreement on what the law be around. So it's really kind of falling to the states right now to make sure that they have things in place to protect data and how AI is going to be used. And I think it's important for everyone again to educate themselves and become involved.
Thank you for that as well. And I want to just piggyback on what you mentioned that the US, we have our own challenges in itself with AI. So how fast do you think it will take the US to catch up, for lack of better terms, or to get on a specific level with AI versus some other countries who might already be there? Or is there really a timetable and where do you see us going and how quickly will it get there?
In my opinion, I mean, the US is far and away ahead in AI than any other country. There are countries like China that are implementing AI differently because they can, based on the kind of government they have. They can have surveillance and use AI for all kinds of things that we wouldn't necessarily allow in the US to the degree that they're doing in these other countries. But in terms of the advances with AI, I'll toot Google's horn for a minute. The latest Nobel Prize in chemistry was won by two Google researchers who figured out using AI how to do protein folding, right? I won't get into what protein folding is, but it is like a major step to unlock cures for cancer, Alzheimer's, malaria, those kind of diseases. This is something that couldn't have been done in the past because there are trillions of potential permutations. They were able to use AI to do that. Those are the kind of things that are happening in the US and by the companies that are investing heavily in AI. So there's all kind of great things that are going to come from it, life-changing kind of things. But there will also be the results that we have seen with everything, with social media, with the advent of the internet, how that could potentially change society.
Jennifer, did
Well,
you want to piggyback on that one too, or?
I'll just say a real life example that happened today. It was actually AI that thwarted a attack on TACOM, the Army base in Warren, Michigan. So it was through that machine learning that the FBI was able to identify a individual that was planning a deadly attack on the base.
Thank you so much for sharing that as well. I am going to ask one final question that we do have, and it states, what gives you hope about the direction that AI is heading into, and what keeps you up at night?
I will say what gives me hope, as Rodney mentioned, at the state level, I do believe that we have representatives that truly understand and are very supportive of ensuring that we have some guidelines that will protect citizens, but at the same time won't slow down where technology is going. So I'm very hopeful on that front. And just to see all the possibilities that AI is able to produce in things such as healthcare and being able to identify diseases earlier, for example. So it's definitely some light, if you will, as far as AI, in spite of the fact that at the national level, there's not a desire at this point to put any parameters around it.
Yeah, again, I would concur. The amazing things that AI is unlocking and will unlock in the future. We've only been able to touch on the amazing possibilities, what I call the art of the possible with AI. It's huge. Go out there and look at Thinking Game or Nova, where you will get a better sense for what the future is going to look like. But what keeps me up at night is the same thing. The power that's going to drive that, if it's the wrong way, if you don't have the right controls and monitoring in place, it could result in some bad things. So, I am hopeful that, different countries around the world understand the importance of it, and that hopefully it will become a global, standard monitoring guidelines, laws on how it's going to be used. I think we will ultimately get there, but that definitely keeps me up at night.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for agreeing to spend some time with us this evening and being our panelist. We appreciate all the information that you have generously given us. We do want to thank our community viewers. I want to thank all of the beautiful women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated who logged on tonight, especially the proud and prestigious Pontiac Alumni Chapter. We want you to know that Crimson Conversation, again, is a community conversation, and we do have these frequently within the chapter. So please feel free to scroll back on our Facebook page and take a look. And then also make sure you share this live and share the information with someone who was not on tonight so that we can continue to educate our community, specifically with artificial intelligence. So if we do not have anything else, I am going to say you guys have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your nights, and thank you for joining.